Dracula should have lost that fight,
No.
but he did. Yeah, he got cocky.
There's a couple really neat flourishes. So there's a scene where Van Helsing turns into his werewolf form, and he pops out his nails and he starts scraping them on a piece of the laboratory equipment. Isn't that great?
That is good.
He just starts slashing that. And then I like when Dracula is like, man, we can become friends. We can become partners. Like he wants to be buds with Van Helsing, right? Or is he trying to beg for his life?
Probably a little bit of both. I think it starts off as being partners, and then it turns into the begging. But with Dracula, you just can't tell. You can't tell. He's so sly and deceptive.
What do you think about Richard Roxburgh's accent?
It's interesting.
Who plays Dracula?
It's an interesting accent.
It's committed.
It is committed.
Do you wish this movie would have stayed in black and white, like in the beginning?
No, because I love the use of color, especially with all like the science, the gothic scientific experiments going on. Okay. Like all the electricity is just like this deep, vibrant blue. All those egg sacs are like Ghostbusters green slime type.
And when they gush at the end, they gush.
They gush.
There's a lot of
just
goo.
The use of colors I really enjoy.
A lot of goo. Now, Dracula gets his throat ripped out. Dracula's dead. And Kate Beckinsale, Anna, runs up on him, and he just tosses her. And she dies. And you're thinking to yourself, she's not dead. She's coming back. And then at the end, they burn her up on a thing, and she's a face in a cloud. Is that one of the weirdest endings you can think of?
It is. I actually remember watching this in theaters, and that ending absolutely devastated me. I was affected by that for a very long time, and even to this day, it may have emotionally scarred me to an extent, watching Kate Beckinsale get smothered by a giant werewolf.
And you're like, but he just kills her. Well, did that have to happen?
No, I don't know if they were aiming for a sequel at that point. I don't know what the reason was, and then maybe they'd go through like a whole resurrection thing in the next movie. Like, I feel like there was a reason behind it instead of a sudden tragic death that just kind of brings out the curse of Gabriel and Van Helsing. I don't know. And then that whole CG face in the cloud is so tacky.
I didn't remember this. I watched this film in 2004, and I saw this movie about 2 months ago. We saw the last 20 minutes. And while we were watching it, I was like, that'd be funny if they actually did kill Kate Beckinsale, because she's obviously coming back to life. They're not just going to kill her. And then we keep watching the movie, and then her face is in the clouds. I'm like, that just happened. Like, they just did that. It's a weird... Remember, I put that post on Movies, Films, and Flicks, and I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And then you liked it. You're a big fan of this film, so I had to talk about the final fight for this series. But yeah, it's a strange film. So what are your favorite parts of this fight, real quick? What's if you had to take something away from this fight, a 1 5-second clip, what would you show people?
The only 5 seconds of this entire fight that mattered to me is Van Helsing's first transformation. Like, you've got a nice shot of him standing in front of the window with the clouds behind him, and the clouds dissipate into that full moon. And then he morphs, and that is the biggest, baddest werewolf we have ever seen in cinema history.
Really? I mean,
he would do...
Oh, like the baddest in cinema history, not like the coolest looking.
No, that's what I mean, like coolest looking, baddest mofo around. Like, he would make all the lichens in Underworld, quiver in fear from him. I mean, it's Hugh Jackman as a werewolf.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is Wolverine as a werewolf.
And he destroys Dracula.
He throttles him.
Just wipes him out. So for me, it would be the scene where Frankenstein throws Alira into the wall. Because he throws her a good 30 yards and she just splats. Such a great noise.
I like that. It's kind of the Rudy moment of this movie. Like, Rudy finally gets his big chance to shine.
I mean, he is powerful, Frankenstein. Like that
Rudy Stein.
Rudy Stein. Sean Astin Stein. Yeah, he's and then he goes, no, when he tells her to leave. He just belts that out. I think that's my favorite pronunciation of the word now ever in a movie. No!
You could make a drinking game off of how often he screams in this movie. He yells after every line that he delivers.
I read that he's a singer. Stephen Sommers hired him because he was a professional singer. So that's why he was hired. Because he's always doing no! Like, he's really belting music out. The guy's an opera singer.
I did not know that. That's fantastic.
I love the steampunk leg too. Whenever he walks, his leg goes. Tss, tss. That's so cool. But like, is this a good fight between the two of them? Could it have been better? Final thoughts.
I think they could have gone. Besides the throws, I feel like they could have really slugged it out a little bit more instead of Dracula kind of doing the duck and dodge and trying to fly away. I would have liked to seen, for as much destruction as they caused, I think they could have really cranked it up another level.
No, I think you're right. It's Dracula. He's on the offensive, lands some sweet punches, and I got very excited. Then he just tries to run away and gets his feet grabbed, and then he gets his throat ripped. Very MacGruber-esque.
They could have really, Michael Bay'd this thing. Instead, they kind of tapered out there at the end, which is unfortunate because the rest of the movie is fantastic.
This is good. Well, thanks for joining me, man. I had to talk about this, and I'm glad that you kind of knocked down a lot of the things I had to say, because I was kind of hating on the line, a little bit on some of the moments, the close, but you really put a lot of it in perspective for me.
And one thing I want to point out is that is the slowest 12-second countdown clock I think we've ever heard.
Oh,
ever.
Yeah. Did time slow down?
Or it just didn't exist. I mean, they're in a completely different world at that moment, so.
Yeah, you're right.
They're in Sommers' world.
Yeah, Stephen Sommers does have a different world. The destruction in his films are so amazing. Like G.I. Joe, cities just get leveled. They have an entire underwater Arctic base that gets destroyed. Jeez Louise. All right, this was fun, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So for Mark Hoffmeyer, for Tom Treasurer, this is Final Fights. We'll see you next week.